Hey everybody. First of all, my name is Josephine Lowry, and since there are no new people here, I think everybody knows who I am. But we're trying something new. We thought we'd have a night meeting. The one thing it did accomplish is my husband, who's never been to a PTO meeting ever, and probably will never go to another PTO meeting. But he got credit for being here, so I appreciate that. Thank you. I feel like I should be the Academy Awards and start thanking him, but I'm not going to go there. Okay, so we have a guest speaker tonight, Dr. Cleveland. Before I introduce him and say a few things, I do want to share, I wish Ashley were here, because we received great news yesterday, which may mean nothing to most of y'all. But for a year and a half, she and I have been working. When she came into being president, she realized that we were sort of operating illegally. You didn't hear that, Mr. Pearson, but we were not in the school. And we were not out of the school. We're basically operating as a company, not paying taxes. So yesterday, I'm excited to share, we received our notification that we're a 501c3, which means that we do not pay federal taxes, and people who make donations to us are tax exempt. They can get a tax deduction for that. So it also means we won't get sued, among a lot of other things. But it did take a year and a half, and we are thrilled that going forward we will be operating independently of the school. We're our own PTO. We're not a PTA. We are a PTO, which means we stand alone. We're the Homewood Middle School parent-teacher organization. Okay, so Dr. Cleveland, I think most of y'all know, is our superintendent. He has been superintendent, I believe, for 8 years. He was assistant superintendent before that, and believe it or not, he was Homewood Middle School's principal for 3 years. He grew up in Homewood, went to Shades Cahaba, Homewood Middle School, and Homewood High School, and then went on to Sanford to get his undergraduate, his master's, and his PhD. And he's received lots of great awards over the years, but most importantly, we feel very blessed and fortunate to have you as our superintendent. You've done a remarkable job. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I hope you continue to feel that way later on. I am Southern Baptist, so this is kind of perfect for tonight because it feels like y'all are like on the back row, which is how it works in a Southern Baptist church. But I do appreciate you being here. And yes, I was principal here for 3 years. I love my job now. The funnest job I've ever had, being principal here at the middle school, because I love the middle school age. And I think you have to, it's an acquired taste. You either love it or I don't know that there's much in between. But I love it. And I used to teach at a junior high, which is close to a middle school, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And Mr. Pearson was my principal when I taught at Bottenfield Junior High.
That I'm old.
No, I think he just started out as a principal. He was that good. But I love teaching in it. I taught at the high school too, but at Bottenfield and Minor. But I love the middle school, and it really is. It's a tough time for us as parents. I think it's tougher for us as parents than it is for the students or the people in the school. It just is. That's my personal experience as a parent. But I love it here. I'll give you an example of why I love it. The number one reason of why I love the middle school is simply, well, if the student was getting on my nerves here at the middle school, now, which Zach was one of my kids, but he would never have fallen into that. But were one, let's say I was principal here when Andrew Cleveland was here. I promise you, he would have gotten on my nerves at some point. The great thing about a middle school is, and Mr. Litton, you can back me up on this, if it's, let's say, if they arrive here in the morning and they're just like, I don't know, some other child I've never seen before, they can go to the first class, and then when there's the next class change, all of a sudden they're just this different child. It can come and go that quick here at this age. And if you don't like them at one period change, let the next one go, and there'll be some child you just love at the next one. It can change that quick, and that's one of the things I love about the middle school. They're going through a lot of changes. It literally can be hour to hour. But I love seeing that happen, and I love seeing the faculty here interact with those students along those changes that they go through and how they evolve. And I think there's kind of an acquired taste to that. So I love it. But anyway, that's enough of a background about me. Tonight I wanted to just talk briefly, and I don't want to talk too terribly long because we're going to be meeting next Tuesday night at Homewood High School. I'd invite all of you to attend, and when we meet, we're going to be looking at our Harbert study. Harbert has done a study for us along with the help of Davis Architects and Goodwin Mills and Kaywood Architects on all of our schools. They've also done part of the study is on the parks, because what we've learned, and I've highlighted these this year and the last 3 years, you could really go back to 2012-13, but especially counting this year, the last 4 years, our growth has been almost unprecedented. We did have 1 year where we had 100 student growth in 2005-2006. That year was when Katrina happened. And system-wide, we were close to 70 new students because of Katrina. So the growth was somewhere around 30. There's a plus or minus to that. But I can tell you we benefited greatly. That's when I was at the middle school as principal. And right now, Mr. Pearson, I want to say that you are around close to 930, maybe a little more because there's some that come and go. To put that in perspective, 10 years ago when I was principal here, the 3 years I was principal, the most we had, including the Katrina year, 2005-2006, was 780 students. So right now we're up around 930 here at the middle school. So the growth has taken place. We're happy about the growth. Okay, we're pleased about the growth. It certainly presents challenges. I probably would have preferred it to be spread out a little more. But as my wife was quick to remind me, things happen and they don't always happen the way that I would prefer them to happen. So we deal with them, and that's what we have been doing really for about the past year and a half, is focusing in on this growth. When we have a lot of growth, and you can see that now we have pretty much every grade level in elementary school has more than 300 in it. All of these have 300 in it. One thing we've learned in communicating with the city is that when we are growing at a high rate, especially in the younger grades, so are the park and their activities. A good example, the easiest example for me to share with you about that is right now the parks are using every elementary school field that is available from 6 p.m. until it gets dark for some of their flag football teams, for the little ones to do flag football. I'm not exactly sure what we're doing at Shades Cahaba now, because usually the Y uses that field after EDP heads until it gets dark. And we love that, but that's how full their area is getting, their field space, things like that. So we've just all come together. We'll go into greater detail next Tuesday night about that, but I do want to point out it's not the rule of thumb that boards of education and park boards and city councils and mayors all work in harmony together. It's a shame that that's not the rule of thumb. There are some places that do that, and I would probably tell you those places have a lot of success, or cities, and that's something that's been in place here. And that, to me, that's worthy of pointing out. Mr. Pearson knows we've been in areas where that has not been the case, in county systems. We've been in areas where that has not been the case in some other city systems, where it's become, well, we have this, but we don't want you to be able to use this. It's crazy. So that's not been the case here. I'm not going to claim that we have all of the answers and they're wonderful and they're great. We do understand what the problem is, and we're all together. We think this is a positive problem, and we actually will kind of come up with a few solutions based on what the information and the data has told us. That we'll be sharing some of that next Tuesday night. And you know, there's not a lot of rocket science. It's not a lot of that goes into this. We are a city that has not added on or gone in and looked for land to bring in. We're about 8.5, 9 square miles. I think that's a good thing because there's some cities around where that's caused some issues. Did I say that okay?
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you. And they've kind of lost their identity. And the scary thing from my end is when you lose your identity, you lose your mission and what you're here to do. And our mission remains to help each and every child reach their unique potential. That's hard enough in the best of circumstances. And there are always areas we recognize we need to improve or work on doing something a different way. But when you throw curveballs into it, like growth like this, and you don't work together, I mean, it's tough enough to deal with that to begin with, but if everybody's not on the same page, it's almost impossible. And I can assure you, this is not my forte. This is not something I'm probably the most comfortable about, is dealing with all the facilities. It's a portion of the job, and I don't mind doing it, but I'd much rather be in the schools. I'd much rather be reading to the kindergartners, because that's the absolute funnest thing in the world to do. The teachers might not like that because I can get the kids crazy, and then I get to leave. But I'd much rather be doing that than focusing on all of this, but I don't mind doing this also, and I think I've learned a lot as we've gone through. But a lot of things in this. We are projecting that our high school numbers by about 2023, I think, will be over 1,300, and it might even be a year before that. That school was built for about 1,200. Every school we have currently, Mr. Pearson, we are using every classroom here.
Every single classroom.
We are using every classroom at Edgewood, at Hall Kent, at Shades Cahaba, and at the middle school. So a silent positive in that is I'm not coming to you, Ms. Truitt, as a board member and saying we need to rezone. Rezoning would do no good. Every classroom in our system is being used. I'm glad about that because rezoning is a bear, and that is not a good thing. That means all of Homewood is growing. It's all moving in the right direction. So we're just having to approach that. So that is one thing. I'm going to kind of pause there and just say, are there any questions about that? I'm also, let's see, when's your, go ahead.
You have plenty of time, but will you maybe touch on where the growth is coming from? Because part of it is Edgewood going up.
Yeah, there's a couple of things going on, and every portion of Homewood. Edgewood is the easiest one to see, but every portion of Homewood has some kind of growth taking place. I will assure you that you can get in the car and drive to any portion of Homewood and you'll see a couple of things. You'll either see homes that have been bought and completely knocked down, or knocked down to the like the basement or something. and they're being built taller, wider, larger families are staying there, or they're being knocked completely down and they're being built there. Love that. That's a great thing. And some of these families have made big sacrifices for a while. What is different than even when I first came back in the fall of 2004, what's different is we still had families in the fall of 2004 that would buy them, husbands and wives would buy them as soon as they had a baby. They'd look to flip that home, and then they'd move further out. Or they'd go to a different section that might be newer and they could get a new home. I'm not seeing as much of the flipping that used to take place. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's not as common. I certainly attribute some of that back to when the recession hit, and perhaps families couldn't flip and get out. But regardless of the reason, they're here now and they're staying here, and some are even moving back in. I am aware of, I'm not going to call the name because he told me I could say their situation, but I never asked point blank, can I say your name? But there's one family who came from Greystone, and quite frankly, he was spending all his time in the car. He was not getting to see his family. So they moved down here they moved down to Homewood, and it was much more convenient for him to get to and from work. And I can appreciate that and understand that. That brought a lot of children. And I love that because that's job security. The other factor, so those are the homes. The other factor is, I'm not going to say it's a positive or a negative. I think it's a negative, Josephine, for some systems. I consider it a positive for us, and what that is there have been some systems, we are connected to many systems physically, like right next door to many systems. And there are some systems who have gone through some tough times. And because of that, they've lacked in some cases, some stability. And we benefit from those. We're the closest place. And some of those students come to us through apartments. And there's some that the same complex is kind of split in half. Part of it would be one city and part of it would be Homewood. Or there are some where it's close. Mr. Pearson and I had this when we were in the county. There are some where they're very close to the county, very close to the city, so they can come, and once they figure out, well, I can get here, that is a benefit to us. But the sad part of that is that typically means there's a system that's not clicking on all cylinders. And, we hate to see that. We would prefer that every system in this area be functioning at the highest level. That would be the greatest thing for public education. And there's good people in those places, but those are the two factors, I think, that make this growth continue along. So it's a good question. Yes?
Do you have projections? You have the historical, but do you also, will that be revealed
That'll
next
be part
week?
of next week. Basically, this kind of growth equals about 2.7% growth each year. And so we kind of look at that in two different ways. We will look at it, what if there's no growth? And what if we just take these numbers and project them on out? And then we'll take the numbers and kind of put 2.7% to that and look at it with that kind of growth. Kind of a conservative way, and then another way just with the typical growth we've had these past 5 years is how we look at it. I prefer to just be as conservative as possible. There have been a few years, and by the way, this chart, if you ever want to know, we can go back as far as we need to. But as you just look up here, there's been a year with the year before we were at the same. We went down 3 students. We went down 27 students, and I'll just be frank with you. This, this year, in 2004, 2005, that is when I came to the middle school. And there was a reason I came to the middle school. You know, things weren't clicking on all cylinders here. Granted, it was the old building, which was enough to make folks leave. If you had any experience there, it was not the optimal learning environment. But when we came here, we started getting things settled a little bit more. So I think there were several reasons for that number going down. Quite frankly, that year we had a number of families that left and went to private schools. That's not happening now as much either. So I don't know if there were some that had family members around here during that time or not. Any other questions about that? That was a good question. Yes, Alice?
Would it be fair to say that the Harvard study, does it show kind of like, I mean, it's something that went to World War, right? I mean, like the availability of land.
Yeah, one would think at some point there'd be a leveling off, but, you know, what we're seeing now is a change. We would be concerned. We don't necessarily go too far and say, when is this going to end or stop? Because right now we have to do something. We know it's not going to level off anytime soon, and we're using all 55 classrooms at Hall Kent. We're using all 39 at Shades Cahaba and all 44 at Hall Kent. So something's got to happen, and even if this continues, the leveling off wouldn't start till after that. So, you know, there's some things I don't know that we can predict or figure out. But yeah, one would think that would happen. I will say with we're also seeing a very large uptick in excitement and some things happening. And Johnny and y'all might could address this better than I could, but in West Homewood, and there's room for that to grow even. And so our concern would be there's a whole section that could grow up. I see familiar West Homewood faces, Hall Kent faces in here that I'm used to seeing at Hall Kent. But they can maybe speak to that anyway. So I think before it ends, if you're asking my unofficial, non-professional, because I'm not one of the pros that does this, but I've been in Homewood long enough to know I think there's some areas that growth could still happen. We also have some apartment complexes that still are not full, and there are a lot of apartments in Homewood. The majority of which, again, I know this is on tape and everything, and I don't mind saying this. The majority of the apartments in Homewood are run and managed by some of the best people you'll ever meet. I do get concerned about a couple of them because, and this comes from our parents who call me and say, can you help me find some place because it's July and my air's not working, and I've tried to get somebody to come up here and fix my air, and they're not coming up here. Or it's one of the most recent ones was they've cut my water off. I don't know why my water's off, but my son can't get up to school. You know, he's anxious about getting to school. Okay, let me talk to your son. You know, there are a few places where if they can get the right groups in there managing them and running them, they'll just blow up. I mean, in a good way. They'll start attracting people, and they won't be moving. Because we've seen it in our other complexes. When the people that manage them and run them, again, which is the majority in Homewood, if they treat them right, they're not going anywhere. And they're going to appreciate that and stay. It's the same thing we want. We want our families in good places. So my hope would be is that at some point they get some good, they kind of see how our others are doing. Just copy them. I can tell them the ones to copy if they want to know. Yes, sir.
The growth strategy and plan, we'll be looking at 5-year plan, 15-year plan? I mean, you're showing 17 years of historical data.
Yeah, it would be, are you asking the plan as far as when to start addressing this?
And Goodwin Mills are putting together in that industry, when you forecast school growth, when you forecast in 5 years, it takes 2 to design, a year and a half to build, and you're behind schedule right now.
Yeah, so in the meantime, you might have to do something, and to be honest, we really don't have all those answers.
But are we looking out to 10 years?
Probably not 10 years. I'd say it would be more probably like a 5-year comprehensive plan.
So it becomes a stopgap measure?
I mean, I'd love to be able to answer that. But, you know, if you look at this, it could, but I would think you'd want to do something that would address and also take into consideration that 2.7% growth that could allow you to grow with as time goes along.
Are you going to review immediate?
I'm sorry, am I going to do it?
Immediate issues for next school year if you have over your desired?
Yeah, again, I think some things are, like I was saying, some things are not difficult to understand, they're difficult to say. My experience has been, and I'll pick on you, Andy, because not only did we go to Sanford together, but you've had kids here for a long time, which is to fix this in the short term, as long as we have a plan and it is actively addressing the long-term plan. I think here in Homewood, we'll deal with some things that aren't optimal. Maybe some type of portable classroom in the meantime to make do as we are addressing the big issue. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I think common sense is how I try to deal with that. I'd hate that. And I did teach in a portable classroom one time, and it wasn't optimal. But I knew eventually I'm doing this so I can be in this other place. But I guess the other point of that was anything we're going to do is probably going to be done to factor in for some future growth. More so, Alice, to your point of, is it going to level off at some point? That's kind of how I think.
Portable classrooms are okay. In South Mississippi, whenever they were wiped away, all the school systems in Harrison County and South Mississippi, when high schools were wiped away, and all they were teaching out of were trailers and having to use porta potties, those kids were 3 years in a row at the highest test scores.
Really? Wow. Well, I would not want to make a habit out of that. And let me stress that I don't know that that's something that's going to happen. But here's what I do know. We're using every classroom. And our goal remains to keep class sizes a little as small as we can. With this kind of growth already up to this point, the 131 will change because we have a transient group here, and that changes. Even if it doesn't increase anymore, we're already going to earn more units from the state. So we're going to earn some units that we can use at various levels. So we'll have the ability to even add some next year. Yes, sir.
You know, you've got this historical data based on this 2.7%, based on what
For the
we've
last 5
grown
years.
For the last 5 years. And I know that we're part of that, the Sims are part of that population group, and I apologize. And
Please don't
for that.
apologize. I tell you, this is a good problem now.
But, and to her point, is this based on your attendance records and your, okay, so has anybody looked at it from a demographer standpoint, being able to look at all that anecdotal information that you're talking about and putting it into some kind of scientific formula or projected growth and be able to look at apartment dwelling and statistical information on MSAs and that kind of thing in order to project beyond that 2.7 and be able to provide a little bit more of a concrete guess, because I mean that's what you're doing. Birth rates, you've got to figure in all of that.
Yeah, I
that
mean, you can look
stuff.
at the census and see how large a drop our community has gone in the past 10 years. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that's something that could come after all of this. So I don't want to tell you that that's been done.
Right.
Let me rephrase my
After-
answer. It has
after
not
all
been
of it?
done. I think I can
Okay.
tell you more than I don't think
Okay.
so. It has not been done.
Okay.
But part of the reason, Andy, I think it has not been done is because we're looking at the here and now. And that could be a wrong thing to do, and that's why we're trying to now start getting out. And there's going to be a website for you to send questions to. There's going to be a place for you to get information to us, because there's going to be things we're not thinking about. And there are folks that can do that for us. But right now, we're kind of like, this should have been done. Had we known it was going to be like
Sure.
this. Last year, we could tell our growth wasn't as strong. So one thing we thought, Alice, was that maybe we had reached part of that plateau and we'd start going in the other direction. Well, that certainly didn't happen as to now. But that's something that's been on our mind too. So yeah, we probably need some help with that.
Is this happening in Mountain Brook and Vestavia and Hoover?
Mountain Brook, not as much, according to their superintendent. Vestavia, yes, in a major way, but keep in mind that they have annexed in several portions to their existing, what was Vestavia proper. And because of that, they're having to deal with a high school that's very similar to ours. It's running out of space where you can add on to, and it's at capacity, and they've built and built and built parking areas until you really can't build anymore. So they're having to look at what can they do. They've just purchased the old Berry High School from the Hoover school system. But one of the bigger things, and they're having a lot of discussions, community discussions, and one of the things they're trying to do is, it's different from us in the fact that they do have schools that aren't at capacity. They do have a whole area that's, while there are some schools that are at capacity in Vestavia, there are some that have plenty of room. And that's just an interesting thing. How are you going to deal with that? That's one thing we just don't have, and we're closer. So,
I have a question. Are you looking to build like an intermediate school here that would be something like the Central and Vestavia to relieve the full elementary schools?
I'm not a huge fan of the intermediate school unless it makes a lot of sense for what we're doing. I think a case will be made for, an option will be made for potentially putting some kind of school right next to this school. And when I say right next, that the cafeteria, the kitchen could be shared. Because that would, if you could share that kitchen and have its own cafeteria, possibly even sharing this area. The media center. That would be two major areas that you wouldn't have to kind of reproduce, but you could still have its own school with its own entrance, its own gym, things like that. That's something that we'll look at in an option. And the reason for that is that would then free up space at existing elementary schools without having to build. That will be something that will be presented next week. I guess that's a teaser. Maybe.
We want them to come.
Well, it's a lot of things. One thing affects another thing, affects another thing. There are certainly some things that will need further discussion. We'll be presenting this information. Also, Mr. Pearson knows this, but we'll be presenting prior to sharing it with faculty members. So, just a thought like that will cause, depending on what grade you teach, will cause some consternation between a faculty member. Am I going to have to go here? Am I going to have to go there? Now, I will be meeting with faculty members. I will be meeting with each school in the days after that. But That's kind of where we are. I don't know that we can answer that. There's a plan to add on to every school. And there's going to need to be some discussion about that. What we plan on doing is next Tuesday you'll get actually a card that says, here's a website. We're going to put that presentation that we present online. We'll put the Harvard study online. There'll also be contact information because we anticipate a lot of questions, and we also anticipate some information. We'll be updating that with the frequently asked question portion of that too. So there'll be several areas on that website that we'll go to. We actually are going to take some questions next Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, why not? We want to know what people have to say. We're not going to spend all night there though. But they can ask the questions, and everybody's goal is the same, and there could be more than one way to skin this cat, and we just got to start here. So that's a little bit about that. Now, if I could shift gears, like I said, I don't have much. I know y'all have some other things. This year is a year we redo our strategic plan, so we'll be beginning that process here also as we deal with our growth. And the strategic planning process, that is what's at the heart of what we do. So there'll be an opportunity to begin that. I put this second thing up here just simply because, and let me be very clear, especially since this is being videoed, all of Jefferson County schools receive money from common taxes. So the Jefferson County Board of Education, the Birmingham City Schools, Trussville, Homewood, Fairfield, Midfield, Bessemer, Vestavia, Mount Brick, we all receive certain portions of county tax money. These taxes were voted in last in 1991. So they're on a 30-year cycle, and they're up to be renewed in 2021. So I look at that. We still got time to kind of deal with that. However, there are some large systems in Jefferson County that want to go ahead and have these renewed. So they kind of take the lead on things like this. I just bring this up because I don't know when that's going to be done. It's really up to some of the larger systems and actually Judge King, who approves things to be put on ballots. So that I just mentioned that. That's not something that I'm not too terribly concerned with, but it could be something that we come back to you as a PTO and go, okay, we need to help in Homewood to make sure people know this is a renewal. Okay, this isn't a new tax. So that could be this year or it could be next year.
Who wants it earlier?
Well, the benefit of doing it early would be for some systems to go ahead and get some projects underway, some building projects, and they can borrow the money and get it done now. This is a very good time to borrow money, but they would want to make sure they had this in place for a while. So that's really what is pushing it. And then the only thing I will say is the legislature, and I know this is on tape, so I'll be very clear about this, and watch our legislators very close this year. You have good representation here with David Faulkner, certainly. John Rogers has a portion of Homewood, Roger Smitherman. I'm not concerned about our representatives and our senators. I'm concerned about other senators and representatives that we can't do much about in this state. I don't think they have the best interest of students at hand. And if I don't feel that way, I'm not going to play around with it. I'm going to say I don't think they do. The best example I could give to you or to cite as an example would be this idea of report cards for each school or school system that the legislature has mandated come about. So this is supposed to start this December. It will be a phase-in over 2 years. We just received final word on how these report cards would be presented, how our school systems would be graded. We just received word about that, not last Friday, but a week ago Friday. In other words, we've just learned. How would you like it how would this go over at your home? Well, you wouldn't even get home. You'd get a text. I'd get a text if my child was at Homewood High School and they received a syllabus and it said, 6% of you in this class are going to make an A. 6% of you in this class will fail. No ifs, ands, or buts. The rest of you, somewhere in between, will make a B, a C, or a D, whatever. That's what this report card is saying using a modified bell curve. I don't even know where they got the bell curve from, but it's a modified bell curve that says 6% of our schools in Alabama will be A schools, 6% will be F schools, and the rest will fall somewhere in between. That's horrific. That's just pathetic. You know, if your child texted you and said, I can only, there's only 6% of us will make A, or no matter what we do, that's defeating, and that's not the way classes are done anymore. Somebody said, well, my law school did that. We're not law school. This is regular school. So that's been pushed by one representative in particular who's not around here. But I think our representatives need to feel the pressure. They need to hear us say, this is wrong for all kids. This is not right. Are you just trying to make more failing schools so they can fall into some category where they can get their private school paid for or something? I can't figure it out. But the research doesn't say that this is a good way to do it. And they just need to be watched and held into check. Again, our representative, David Faulkner especially, is very good and supportive to us. But he needs to feel, hey, we got your back. This is wrong. This is not good for any students. If you're in Homewood, it's not good. If you're in next door in Birmingham, it's not good. It's just not good for kids, and it's not the way things are done. And sometimes it's that simple. Are these things good for kids? Or are they being legislated or passed because they may or may not be good for a legislator or the group they support? I think a lot of people are scared to say those things, but that's what it is. I'd also say with the legislature, they can't fit. We have a revenue problem in the state. We can say we don't until the cows come home. There is a revenue problem in this state. For heaven's sakes, they just spend a lot of money to come back for a number of weeks in a special session to really, I'm not sure what they figured out, but they found some way to make something for Medicaid, but they're using BP money. That's not going to continue. At some time, that's going to end, but the needs are still going to be there. And there's the Education Trust Fund, which is one thing. Then there's the General Fund, which is another. I want them to get the General Fund fixed and solved and a permanent solution. I don't have anything against the General Fund, but not at the expense of our kids. And that's in the back of my mind too. For a couple of years, we're going to be okay because we got this BP money. But when that ends, are they going to come over here to the Education Trust Fund? And I think that's something we all need to kind of keep in the back of our mind. That being said, 58% of our revenue, help me out, Judy, 58% of our revenue comes from local sources here in Homewood, from our local revenues. That's unbelievable. So yes, there's problems with the legislature. Don't know what's going to happen. We'll figure that out sometime. And this presents some challenges for us. And there's gonna be some debates about what we can do and what we can't do and this and that. Certainly there'll be discussion and debate. But the one thing we have here is when you see 58% of our revenues coming from our city, from the price you pay for your homes, for what you pay in sales tax, what the city provides for us, that's amazing. Yeah, we've got challenges and there's going to be discussion and there's going to be debate and, well, more power to it. Yeah, we live in a place that supports this and you're dang straight, we're going to have some debate and discussion about it. But it's all going to be towards what's best for our kids. I feel completely sure of that, and that's why I kind of smiled. Somebody looked at me funny over there, and I said, we're going to take questions. And they said, really? Well, yeah, so I think everybody's going to be on the same page. There's a lot of ways there's going to be a lot of material on the page, but at the end result, we want what's best for our kids. So. Any other questions or anything? I'm sorry, I rambled a little bit.
One more.
Yes.
So you will talk budget, though? You will talk funding for these capital projects? And, I'm assuming they're not built into it.
There's some numbers that we will present some estimates on these projects. Now, you
Like
asked.
how you get the funds.
How we get that little thing about how you
that
pay
part.
for it?
Yeah, that part.
Yeah, we'll kind of present that.
Okay.
Present's not the right word, Andy. I think I've got a week to come up with the right word. Yeah. In the meantime, shop in Homewood, buy your stuff in Homewood. I think I've been saying that since we were
All goes back to our
at
schools.
Scotland. That's right. Well, thank y'all for your time to be here. And
Thank you, Dr. Cleveland. I know for an evening meeting, it was not really, it's hard for all of us to be here. And so I do appreciate you coming, Dr. Cleveland, and all of y'all coming out to hear what he had to say, because I knew it would be good. And it is a teaser for next week. Please try to make plans to come next Tuesday night. It's at the high school, right?
at the high school.
Yeah.
We will, if you can't for some reason make it there, we'll put it online.
Right.
After, probably the next day. I think they're gonna splice two things in.
Okay, all right. So, don't feel like you have to stay for the rest of this. And if anybody needs to leave, I totally understand. Wait, you have,
Can I ask Dr. Cleveland
Sure.
about this clown? What's going on with these rumors about these clown? What's that?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how the legislators have made their, wait, we're talking about the, I know what you're talking about.
Sorry, I jumped off this.
Yeah, Brighton is the closest I've heard of it coming over here. I think there was something, Mr. Pearson, that it was in Irondale or something like that. I'm not 100% positive of that, but Brighton would be, fairly close, but,
But nothing in Homewood.
yeah, well, not that I've heard of. Yeah, you saw me knocked on. I'm assuming that's what.
From carpool conversations coming home after school, the kids are discussing it a lot, and a lot of rumors and a lot of things
The clown?
about the clown.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna discuss that. It's on the front page of AL.com. There was a special on the news tonight. How is this, no joke, this was on the news, on Channel 13. How is this affecting clowns? Like legitimate clowns. And I was in Montgomery at a meeting today, and Jackie Brooks, the superintendent down in Tuskegee, whatever that county is, she's a clown. She goes to little kids' birthday parties and stuff, and she was like, "This is horrible for us." But yeah, it will be discussed.
Yeah, because we actually have parents that are here that are clowns.
Right.
Like with Children's Hospital and so forth. So yeah, we actually have clowns that live here in the city. Like Jordan's the state.
Yeah, and there very well could be, somebody saw a clown here and there, and it could be one of those, or it could be a teen doing something they shouldn't do, and that's something that I worry about. I don't necessarily worry about, but it's it's being talked about like crazy. It's getting front page info. I'm afraid somebody's going to get hurt now.
Thank you. You do not have to stay. You are dismissed. Thank you so much. Mr. Pearson, you're up next, but you do have to stay because you have to let us out. So I know we will try to move quickly, but we do have a few important things. But if y'all need to leave, we totally understand. This is one of our bigger meetings, and again, it's at night, so y'all have kids that need homework and fed and all that. My husband is not feeding my children right now, but you get attend.
First of all, I want to thank you for coming and being a part of this wonderful meeting. And let's give Dr. Cleveland a big hand for taking the time to give us a heads up as to what's coming. And you mentioned the clowns. One of the things that we did last week was practice our lockdown. I'm sure your young people came home and discussed that with you. And please discuss with them that that's not a time that we're trying to scare them. We're trying to make sure that they're prepared. So I want you to know that we take what they believe and say very seriously. So talk to them about that. I want to also share with you, you're in a great place. Academically, this is one of the best communities that you could ever be a part of. And I'm grateful to be part of that. Keep talking with your young people about grades, and also share with the teachers any issues that you may have. This week, as you know, is homecoming week. This Friday is our homecoming tailgate festival. It will be right outside. It will begin immediately at 3 o'clock. I know our PTO will be sharing with you, starting tomorrow, notes will be coming home. We need your signature. Here's the key. If you don't sign it, they can't attend. And sometimes we have at the last minute, Mom didn't sign it, so that's why we ask that we want you to know where they are. So please take time to look at that. Back up, Thursday is our homecoming game. We'll be at the stadium. Our 7th and 8th grade band will be performing. Hopefully you'll be there and take part in that. One other thing with me that is very big is safety. At this point in the year, I get a little concerned if we have any young people who do not know who's picking them up after school. And sometimes, even though they have a cell phone, by the end of the day, guess what the cell phone has done? It's dead. And sometimes the number they remember is on the cell phone. And I'm thinking, do you know a secondary number? Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes it's no. Please make certain that they have a duplicate number, and more importantly, who will pick them up. Bikes, helmets, locks. If you have a young person that rides a bike, we're getting more and more young people who are doing that. We want them to, but they need to have a bike helmet. It needs to be locked up, and they need to slow down when they go out back over those hills, and especially down toward the back of the building. Again, I want to thank you for all the things that you do. This is a wonderful PTO. You provide a lot of things that would be very difficult if we did not have the resources that you provide for us. But more importantly, it's the time and the effort that you put in. If you don't think you're going to be tired, come on up Friday. We have work for you to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson, and thank you for letting us meet at night. Again, it was an experiment. We will probably go back to day meetings after this, but I think we have gotten some people who can't make it during the day, and that was my goal, was to do 1 or 2 meetings this year, just to allow different people to participate in a PTO meeting, which is not the most exciting thing to do, but it is informative. So next we are going to just try to move this through quickly, but we have the Secretary's report. She's just going to announce the meetings and we'll vote on them.
At the desk over there where you came in, there's a copy of the minutes from the last meeting, which was in April of last school year. So if you've had a chance to look over those, that's great. If not, you can go ahead and glance over them.
So can I get a motion to approve these minutes from y'all? I'm new at this, so I'm not really sure, even though I'm a lawyer or used to be, I'm not good at this.
I've heard the minutes.
Second? Okay.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Next is our treasurer's report. Dana Lovering is gonna just briefly speak on where we are, and then we'll go over the budget. I'll go over the budget just a little bit more detail.
Okay, hey everybody. I passed around a budget, so this shows where we are from July 1st, which is the beginning of our fiscal year, until September, what's today, the 20th? Until last Friday. So it shows through September, whatever that was, the 12th, 15th, 16th. And so it shows in the first column, these are actual results. If you flip to the second page, you will see that year to date, we have made about $10,000. And most of that comes from, if you flip back to the first page, supply sales. You'll see we had income of $37,000 and costs of about $34,000, so that netted about $3,000. And then we had some spirit item sales just above that. We have paid for a lot more spirit items than we have sold. So we still, what that means is we still have some inventory, and we won't have additional expenses. We'll just continue to have income related to those. So we expect to have about $4,000 in income by the end of the year. And then the second column is the budget, and I think Josephine's going to go over that in more detail. Are there any questions about the actual results so far? We have about $28,000 in the bank today.
Okay, so with the budget, we're not gonna go line item by line item, we'd be here till probably 10 o'clock. But we have met several times to go over the budget based on last year. A few changes. I think last year, as y'all probably have heard me say several times now, we ended up, really what our goal is, and it kind of started last year, we have about a working capital of about $12,000. We kind of look at it as a capital account, but we need money in case we need to buy spiritware. We need to just keep an operating account. So we have about $24,000, right, Dana, I think? That looks like it's for a rainy day. You know, our goal is not to have that rainy day keep growing and we're not using it to help our students. But at the same time, if something gets cut, we want our school to be able to come to us and say, hey guys, we need more money from y'all. And then we can pull from the rainy day fund. But currently, we're going to leave it alone, so it doesn't. It's not reflected in this budget at all. But we do have a cushion of about $12,000. So our goal, though, is to spend everything that comes in. Because when we spend it, it is going back to our classrooms. It's going back via our teacher grants to our classrooms, benefiting all our kids. So I'm not a believer in keeping a big cushion, because I think that what we work hard to bring in with fundraising should go back to benefit our kids. So this budget, last year we got to actually, I think we were negative $300 because we had a family in the end of the year that needed help, and we helped them. So our goal will be to net zero at the end of the day. But that doesn't mean, that requires, that's hoping that everybody comes to the tailgate party and we don't lose money on it. That is not a fundraiser. We make no money on that. It's just fun for the kids. And then we have something new this year called a hardship fund that people have given about $1,200 to. So we budget about $1,000, and then that's additional money that the counselors are working with Lee Farrell, who's our committee chair on that, to make sure that the needs are met of kids who have, just special needs. One of which we implemented this week at the last minute, unfortunately for them. But I want every child who wants to go to the tailgate party, who may not can afford it, but I don't want a kid after the bell sitting there watching this fun happening, and it's $5, but for some people $5 is gas money to get to school. So hopefully the counselors know who those kids are, and as long as they turn in a permission form, they're covered. And I'm excited. I hope in this case that a lot of kids will be able to come that normally could not afford a dance, and everything that goes along with the dance, the dress, the corsage, the hair, all that. My kids are spoiled, rotten, and privileged. So, but anyway, so the budget, if y'all have any questions, I'm happy to answer them later. Dana's worked really hard to get this budget reconciled based on last year, and I'm excited that we will have lots of opportunities to make money, help our teachers, help our school, help our kids. It just all comes back to that. So, with that said, I'm gonna make a motion will someone make a motion to approve the budget?
Make a motion.
Will someone second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, the budget is approved for this year. Awesome. So, kind of related to the budget, we made a very blanket across the board, except for things like the dance, the winter disco or the tailgate party. We're no longer accepting checks or cash or money orders. It makes accounting really hard, and we really want to be able to give out merchandise after it's paid for. And it's every day, in this day and age, you can go to CVS and pay $25 and get a Visa debit card. So most of our families that can't, don't have credit cards, that's what they do. So I don't think it's going to be a big impact, but it is something to take note of. And as well, with that hardship fund I mentioned, I'm sorry?
Why do they have to go buy a CVS card?
Oh, no, they don't have to, but some families
You said
only,
you weren't taking cash, checks.
we won't take cash or
For
checks.
what? You didn't explain for what.
Oh, well, for spirit store items or to make a PTO donation, anything that's done online that you can go on our website, you can order spirit store items, you can pay PTO dues, you can make a donation to HMS. Those kind of things, we're just not taking cash or checks. If they want to order something, they can buy, they can put in a Visa debit card. Some of our,
Associated with that though?
do what?
Aren't fees associated with the PTO, like doing it through there? So if they're having to pay a fee for the Visa card and then a fee for the PTO, that's.
Well,
when
the
they
fee
get
for the
paid.
PTO is built into the cost of the merchandise. So it's not a fee on top of it, I don't believe. I don't think we have a lot of families that this will affect, to be honest. And if there is, we've told them that we will deal with those one-on-one individually. We're not saying absolutely no way. We're just making, because checks bounce. And the other thing is people say they're gonna pay their $10 dues, and 3 months later, we still are outstanding $10. And it's not a lot of money, but when the treasurer has to deal with constant reminders, I think parents just forget that they said they wanted to be a PTO member and they didn't send their money in. So that's sort of why we came to that conclusion. Always reverse it next year, but that's what we're going to try this year to make it a little bit more streamlined.
I just ask,
Yeah.
at events, when people are here, taking money, you can pay by cash
Yes.
or
Yes.
check
Absolutely.
at an event.
Yes, like so at the tailgate, the kids will bring $5 in cash. That's totally fine. We're just talking more online orders. So, okay, so also we have a new on the website, which I hope everybody's registered on. It's hms-pto.org. We have a new way of making donations where you don't have to register. So if you have a grandmother or a family
It's right
friend,
here.
awesome. You can just click on the button that says
Sorry, I know it's far away.
donate to HMS-PTO.
Support HMS or
Okay,
support. It says support HMS-PTO on it, I believe.
Okay.
So you just press that and then the donation page will pop up.
And that money will be used for the hardship fund or altruism, so to help out any issues that come up during the year that the guidance counselors bring to us. Additionally, you can buy spirit wear without having to create an account. So we've had people at Edgewood and Chaska-Hoppa teachers especially, like, we want this shirt, for example. How do I get that shirt? Well, now they can just click on Spirit Store and they can buy the shirt without having to create an account, which is great. I don't think we've had an overwhelmingly success with that yet, but we have a way of dealing with how they'll get their shirts. And let's see, we've had a great year so far. Registration was smooth, seamless, great compliments to the school, a lot better than the high school, I heard. Sixth grade party was fun. We did a welcome back luncheon for the teachers. That was a huge success, and lots of volunteers have already been at work helping the school. Paige could not be here. She's in charge of spirit gear, and we have new items. We have an umbrella. We gave Dr. Cleveland. We have long sleeve shirts. They're going to be like this shirt in different colors. And if you haven't bought this shirt yet, it's extremely comfortable. I'm not one that I wear the same thing all the time, so you'll see me in it often. I have it in every color. The last thing is, a couple things. Fundraiser, Mindy's, and, no, Alicia's not here, so you wanna talk about mixed bag? So our fundraiser is a HMS Fest, and then HMS Fest has mixed bag designs, the night out to dine out at, Your Pie, and then, Showcase Showdown. So it's sort of a all umbrella, and it starts Monday. Just so y'all, if you get confused about, well, we talk about mixed bags, but then we talk about the variety show, how they connected. They're connected. If you want to know how, just ask me, and I'll make sure you understand. And then finally, we were asked to, there's I believe, a student who died over the weekend at Hall Kent. It was the Okay. We were just asked to keep them in your thoughts.
She has siblings at the high school, I found out too.
Okay. Do you know how she died?
She drowned in a swimming pool.
I did hear about that. Okay. Well, I'm sure that family is very much suffering right now. So that's all I have. I'm going to turn it over to our events director, Beth Rowell. We will be out of here in about 10 minutes.
Okay. So keep it short. All right, so Friday is our homecoming tailgate, which is our new event. And it's been a great effort between Josephine and, well, Chris isn't here, Chris Griffin and me, and then the three people that are in charge of it as well. And so it's going to be really wonderful. It's going to be exciting. We're going to have a double slide. That's an inflatable double slide. We're going to have a football throw. We're going to have the cornhole games. We're going to have Homewood Cool tattoos, a dunking booth, which is going to be amazing, that some of the wonderful teachers, including Mr. Pearson, have signed up for. I mean, it's going to be really neat. And Liz Langren is going to be a character. She's going to do the caricatures. We have several photo booths, pizza, cookies, chips, drinks, and Coach Sills is going to DJ as well. So it's going to be awesome. Be outside. There's no rain predicted right now. It might be a little warm, but it's going to be from 3 right after school to 5:15. The permission slips are going out in the tomorrow with the students, so they wouldn't have a lot of time to get them lost between. And as Mr. Pearson said, we definitely everybody needs to sign them and return them. And with $5, we're going to be selling them before, or we're going to be collecting the money and the permission forms before school on Friday from 7 to 8. And if anybody would like to help collect forms and money, let me know, because we'll take you for help. It'll be fun. It'll be, the dismissal procedure will be just like after school. Like a regular school day. It's not going to be staggered like any of that. Everybody will be released at the same time. You can go, and it's all the information's on the permission form. You can go, they can walk to where they walk, or or being picked up at the bridge or at the front of the school. So that's all on here. Of course, only middle school students can come. So no siblings or anything if they're not here. Everything, the permission's $5. That includes everything, all the inflatables, food, all that.
Where are they storing their bags?
What we're going to do is we're going to dismiss at about maybe like 4:50 or something like that, and they're going to be able to go back to their lockers and get their backpacks, and then like a regular school day.
I have a question. Are all the teachers still here, like as part of the supervisors, or is it just parents? Like, because it dances, I know it's usually just parents. Or how
I think there's about 30 chaperones, parent chaperones. Sure about the teachers.
There are 30 parents.
Yeah, there'll be 30 parents here, yeah.
A lot of teachers are doing the dunking booth, so imagine
Yeah.
hang out.
Yeah.
See what's going on.
Right. I think, any more questions? Encourage everybody to come. All right.
Okay, speaking of volunteers, I forgot, Paige asked me, we're selling spirit store items at the homecoming game. So there's a sign-up sheet back there. She needs some volunteers to help. So there's 2 shifts. If you have a 7th grader or vice versa, you can sign up. She needs 4 or 5 people to help her sell the stuff. So I left it back there. So next is fundraising, which Alicia Johnson is actually handling Mixed Bag Designs, which was started last year and made us $18,000. Mindy can say more, but we make on those, you have 3 weeks for your kids to sell, and the catalogs go home Monday, and we get 40% of every item sold. And so that black bag back there, I mean, I have everything. That's fabulous stuff. I mean, it really is cool, different things, new designs this year. But 40% is a lot of money on items that really are nice things. And then if you do online orders, you get 45. I'm sorry, it's vice versa. We get 45% during the 3 weeks, and then 40% all year for anything if you put in the code. So we can we really can keep making money on this longer than the 3 weeks. But Mindy's going to speak about both of them. She's the fundraising director.
I don't know about truly the director. I'm really in charge of the Showcase Showdown, but Josephine's kind of made me a big umbrella to fall under. So I'll talk a little bit about the mixed bag designs. It is basically catalog sales, and we're going to have prizes for the kids, for weekly prizes, and Alicia's lining up some cool things, like a pullover from Alabama Outdoors. She's got some Apple gift cards, and she's lined up several different things that are a little different from last year, so that's going to be fun for them to be able to be in the drawing for. And then she's also going to put, each kid who gets $50 in sales, she's going to put their name in a raffle for them to draw out for a prize. So that's something a little different this year as well. So the packets will go home on September 26th, and then it runs through October 14th. We've extended it a little bit this year, a little bit closer to the Showcase Showdown, so it is a little bit more cohesive. And again, most of you guys have seen it from last year. It's a cool catalog that has lots of gifts, lots of bags, things for your homes. It's really, really a good catalog. So I would encourage you to do that. Also, another thing too, you can go ahead and shop for Christmas. All items will be back by Thanksgiving, so that is really helpful as well. And they are very nice gifts. Okay, now moving on to the Showcase Showdown. It is basically our variety show. I know some of you are familiar with it, some of you aren't, but it's a kid and teacher, or student and teacher driven event where they combine with 10 or more, and they come up with the type of act that they get to do, whether it's like last year we had these boys that did, what were they, synchronized swimmers, is that what they were? It was hilarious. And or we have, some that do dances, some that do singing, some that do drums. You have a little bit of everything. And so the teachers are really, really helpful in this, and we couldn't do it without them, because they organize these kids. They help them come up with their act, and then we have a big show on Thursday night, November 17th, where $1 equals 1 vote. And so we pass buckets after each act, and they vote per dollars. Another thing that we're going to do a little differently this year is we're having to control the crowd a little bit better, because it's getting bigger and bigger. This is our 4th year to do it, and so we have X'd the spaghetti dinner. We're not going to be doing the spaghetti dinner this time. We're going to do it more like this, theater style seating like this, no round tables. And we're kind of changing the sponsorship levels a little bit. We'll still have the $1,000, the $500, the $250, and the $100 levels, and each of those are getting bumped up 2 tickets per level. And we're adding a $50 level for 2 tickets, and you will have like a reserved seat with your name on it, because if you're donating to the school, you get a little extra perk. But we also will have general admission, where you do not have to pay anything to come in. We'll have different times from 6 to 6:15 as sponsors, where they come in. From 6:15 to 6:25 is general admission, so everybody can get in. Even if you're not a sponsor, you can still get in. And then we're going to have more of a concessions type things, like popcorn, candy, Coke, pizza slices. We're even going to sell like glow sticks, little blower, noisemaker things, just so it's fun for the kids. We're going to have some different things to try to make up for the spaghetti dinner. And I also think that we will get a little bit more voting, because as you know, if you've ever made the spaghetti dinner casserole, it's about $45 to make that thing. So I think that we will make up for the spaghetti dinner in voting and concessions, and I really, really think we'll have a lot of these $50 levels. So I think we're going to be fine on that. So you'll start seeing a lot of stuff this is my scratch sheet that we sent today to the printer today. So you'll start seeing a lot of stuff that looks like this coming home. Well, actually, we're going to not send it home. We're going to send it through Monday mailing. We did that last year and it worked well. We feel like a lot of it did not get lost. So y'all please encourage parents to open their emails because that's where all the info is going to be. It's not, we're going to have one letter attached to the mixed bags, and that's this one that's got all the scratch on it that's going to look better next week. But we're going to have that attached, and that's really the only hard copy that will come home. Everything else will be via email. So be looking for those, and please, please, please remind people to check them. So anybody have any questions for me since the format's changed a little bit?
And how about our pie?
Oh yeah, Your Pie. On October the 3rd, we're gonna have just a Homewood Spirit Day at Your Pie. So 15% of their sales all day long go to HMS. So that is another way that we'll get a little bit back in, through our fest that we're doing. So they came to us about that, and so that was really sweet. And so we're gonna definitely do that.
Okay. Any questions about the new changes or anything having to do with?
Do we have to give them this little thing when we go, like this, or is this just a flyer?
No, that's just a flyer.
Just a flyer. You have to tell them that you're, with HMS, and they will, tag that, however, in their cash register to where it is. Very similar to like Edgewood Dine Out. It's the same thing.
And I think it's a Monday night. So who wants to cook on?
Yeah,
Monday
it's a
night?
Monday night. So we tried to get it. I know that there's 9th grade football games, or JV football games, but we tried our best to get it a good night.
There's no good night.
There is no good night. We felt like that was kind of the least conflicted night.
And it's all day.
Yeah.
So we could have a lunch,
Yeah.
go pick up lunch for dinner. Okay, Liz Roselle's about to finish up with
Oh, hey, everybody, I'm Liz. She's videoing me. I'm Liz Roselle, and I handle the social media and communications, which Josephine so nicely asked me to help with last spring. So I'm very
regretting that, I think.
no. Well, I did it for Shades Cahaba also, so it was an easy transition. Except the website was the big change. So there's the Your Pie event. It's on the Homewood Middle School PTO Facebook page. So if you all are on Facebook, I know not everyone is not, and that's okay. Please share this and tell people about it as the event looms. We'll reshare it closer to the date so people don't forget. It'll also come out on an email later, closer. So Mindy was talking about emails, and I'm typically the person that sets up the emails and helps them get ready, and so they'll get proofed by Josephine and Chris sometimes, and we'll get those out. We're trying not to fill up people's mailboxes. So if you feel like you're getting too many emails from the Homewood Middle School PTO, let us know. We try to reel it in and not really over stuff people's inbox, because people don't read emails if they get too many. The donations now are on the page that she mentioned on the website. You can just go click on the donations button. Please tell, those make great Christmas gifts, and they're tax deductible now, which Josephine mentioned earlier. The Facebook feed now has 576 followers, so we're really excited about that. One thing that's important is if you're not a social media person, don't worry about it. The Facebook feed is now live on the website. So if you just want to go visit the Homewood Middle School PTO website, you can see the Facebook feed live on there. So you can see every single thing that we're posting on the Facebook feed without going into Facebook. So you might be at work and you can't access Facebook. You want to see what's happening during the day. And so we've been retweeting Mr. Pearson's Homewood Middle School tweets from homecoming week. So the way I've set that up is the tweets go back to the Facebook page. So you do not have to be on Twitter or Facebook. If you want to go to the Homewood Middle School PTO website, you'll see every single thing that's coming across the newsfeed. Last week we reached almost 4,000 people. With the retweet, the biggest follow was the picture of you and Dr. Henneke in your pajamas. Actually, that was 2 days ago. That was a big one.
And that's amazing. We have been in, 3 months ago, that Facebook page maybe had 5 likes. I don't know. I mean, it was getting no activity.
Yeah.
And Mr. Pearson's been kind enough. We do get consent. If I take a picture of a kid, I say, do we have permission? And which they've all said they gave permission when they signed the website, but we're backing up. We're you got to be careful with that. So
right.
We've been very mindful of that. But what Liz has done is made it interactive, and that's incredible. I mean, in our day and age, when you don't have time to do anything, at least you can go one spot and feel you're up to date and you're current, and you don't have to rely on your kids. to tell you what's going on, because they won't tell you.
Yeah, a lot of the retweets will come from Homewood Middle and Homewood City Schools, and occasionally a CMP, the Child Nutrition Program retweets, because they really have an active Twitter feed. It's really cute if you are on Twitter and you want to follow it. It's super cute. So they'll post pictures of what's for lunch today at the high school. So with, caution, I retweet what pertains to the middle school and what's coming out on Twitter, so everyone can share without having to check your social media if you're not on that, because not everyone is, and we want to share. So if anyone has any requests, let me know, and of course check the events on the Facebook page too if you have time, because we try to load all the PTO events on there also.
Thank you, Liz. And Liz was a gold. We got gold when we got her, because she knows all this. And Ashley and I have struggled for a year to try to make, Ashley, the website, it's all just evolving and hopefully getting better. And if communication was one of my goals this year, was to improve communication. And I think, as most of you know, I can over-communicate. Liz has reined me in on more than one occasion. No, Josephine, we can't have 5 paragraphs. But that's the English major in me. So anyway, thank y'all so very much. Next meeting, all the dates are listed down here on the bottom of but we will have the Safe and Healthy Homewood Coalition, if I said that right, will be speaking, because October is Red Ribbon Week, so that will be a good presentation. And then the library, we're going to try to form a relationship, a partnership with Homewood Library Team Department. They're going to speak in November, so we've got some good meetings coming up, but they will not be at night, but hopefully y'all can come during the day. And I just am grateful, so grateful for all our volunteers. I know I drug some of you into these positions, but we have every chair filled, and we have over 50 chairs. So that is what it takes, plus 8, 9 directors and 5 officers. So it takes a lot of people to make this PTO run successfully, but it is open to everybody. And that's why we had a night meeting, is I want everybody to feel like they're included in this. That is very important to me. So thank y'all. It normally doesn't run an hour and a half, but it's just one of those things. And Dr. Cleveland was great to have come speak to us. So have a good evening, safe travels home, and thank you again.